Well, we now want to go to that freestanding birth center proposal. It may be coming to Augusta, but something is still standing in its way. The executive director of Augusta Birth Center suing the state of Georgia, challenging the state's Certificate of Need regulations. It requires that local hospitals agree to accept a transfer of patients in case of an emergency. Now, with more on that story, we turn to WJBF News Channel 6's Kim Vickers. She's live in the medical district this morning. Kim, the owner has not been able to get any of the local hospitals to enter into an agreement with her.
No, Mary, she hasn't. And Katie Chubb says that there's a real need for birthing centers in Augusta in order to provide an alternate for mothers who don't want to give birth in a hospital. She says that right now the only other option are home births and that the availability of midwives is limited.
Augusta, Georgia is one of the lowest ranking in maternal mortality rates in the entire United States. We're just below Iraq, but just above Libya.
Katie Chubb was inspired to open Augusta Birth Center by her own experience with one and the lack of a birth center nearby.
I traveled 2.5 hours to the Atlanta Birth Center to have my son Evander 2.5 years ago, and the care I received there was exceptional. It was fantastic.
When Chubb couldn't get any of the local hospitals to enter into the transfer agreement required by Georgia, she reached out to Pacific Legal Foundation to file a lawsuit.
This provision that requires you to enter into a transfer agreement with a local hospital before you can secure a certificate, even if you checked every other box in the program, it just works to give hospitals veto power over new services. And that's exactly what's happening in Augusta.
Attorney Joshua Polk says the rule is unconstitutional and redundant because hospitals are already required by federal law to accept emergency patients. He says the provision strips the rights of mothers to choose how they want to have their babies. Carrie Grover chose a home birth this past Christmas because, for her, hospital birth wasn't an option.
We were looking at options and had 2 unmedicated births prior, one in a birthing center, one in a hospital, and we really enjoyed our birthing center experience. So I started looking up like, oh, there must be a birthing center here, and the closest I found was in Savannah.
Grover says while she loved her home birth experience and will do it again, she fully supports the opening of a birthing center in Augusta.
I know there are a lot of women who don't necessarily qualify for a home birth but can have a birthing center birth, and the birthing center is going to be so much more than just about delivering babies.
Now, Chubb hopes that by winning the lawsuit, she'll be able to provide a safer option for women who don't want to have their babies in a hospital while also providing them with education. That lawsuit was filed on August 17th, but there's not been a court date set at this time. Live in Augusta, Kim Vickers, WJBF News Channel 6.
Kim, thanks so much.